Welcome everybody. Actually, I'm gonna take this out of here. Well, I'll show you this. This is I don't know if you can see. I just had it framed the other day. When you do this walk in Spain, El Camino, when you get Santiago de Compostela, they give you this certificate, which it's very pretty. It's in Latin, and it has like an image of Jesus as a pilgrim here. It's very beautiful. And when you walk, like what distinguishes the pilgrim is that you wear a conch. So this is like I think you say a conch in English, yeah. And this specific one, my friend draw a Tibetan ah. When we do the ah practice at the end of the healing mantra that we'll do today, this is the ah. So I just had a frame, very pretty. When I did the Camino, at some point it'd be lovely if we had the time to go over the practice of pilgrimage, because it's very, very important practice, and there's a big distinction between going to sacred sites as tourism or as doing little practice here and there versus undertaking a pilgrimage. The process of preparation and the process of the parting, and then the actual pilgrimage itself is something that is it's done with some very profound guidelines, and it's really very, very precious, and it sums a lot of years of practice and are put into that journey, where the pilgrim goes out just to test one's practices and to really relate to death and to really relate to the truth of the dynamism of life. One of the characteristics of a pilgrim is like it keeps moving forward. There's really no you don't stay on a place, for usually for a day or two at the most, but you keep moving forward. So it's very beautiful. Yeah. So today it's one of the basic topics of today is the joy of being, which it's basically the topic we've been talking since the very beginning, which is this experience where all our practices just come to this sensation of, or this just experience, or this just state of abiding in the present moment without having to do anything else. Sometimes the teachers would call it like a moment of naked awareness, naked in the sense of you're just there in the present moment, and there's no adding the future, there's no reminiscence the past, there's no analyzing the present. The consciousness is very just relaxed and very free. This is what at the end of the healing mantra that we started the other day, when we do the like the second just meant to take you into this moment of just openness. And this is really what summarizes all our practices, that moment in which there's really nothing else to do, and one just can rejoice and naturally, in the presence of being. Yesterday, I me, like you, like everybody else, our weeks are super busy, and very often, even when we do things that are, like, you might, I try to have a rather regular and disciplined practice, meditation practice, but many days is a chore almost, because I have done all these things, and okay, as I think what defines a practitioner is the certainty and the discipline of, regardless what happened in my life today, I want to put this time to practice. But sometimes the practice is very soft and fluid, and sometimes it's just, I'm gonna do this because I said I'm gonna do it, but I'm just doing it because I have to do it. Okay. And obviously, it's essential that is done in our practice. Our tradition is a tradition of practitioners, And a practitioner is defined by two basic characteristics. One of them is because practices, okay, practices in a formal way, and which is when you take your time and say, okay, I said I was going to do this practice for this time, for this length of time, for the rest of my life. So I just do it, and I don't question it. Am I tired? Am I busy? I'm stressed? Whatever. Just bring whatever I have into the practice, and just trust that the practice itself and the lineage and the blessings of my teachers, will just shine through. The blessings of the divine shine through, but I'm offering this space for that. Okay, so that's a formal practice. And a practitioner is also a practitioner because extends the formal practice into the rest of the day. If you're practicing at night, you finish your practice, and your last thought is like, may I recognize my dreams as dreams, and may I continue my practice of recognition in my dreams. Or in the morning, may I bring this to my work, or may I just continue 24/7 through this. So the first characteristic of a practitioner is that practices a path that it's known to lead to liberation, to freedom, to the recognition of the nature of things. The second and probably even most important characteristic of a practitioner, and this ties with this idea of the joy of being, is the certainty of death, the constant certainty of death. I was listening to a talk last night, and this morning Choki Nyima Rinpoche, one of my teachers, he does an annual a yearly retreat in Kathmandu, where he is, so he's teaching from there. So Zoom is incredible because I don't need to go to Kathmandu now, which is lovely, but it's complicated. And the message is always the same. It's like, unless you keep death as a constant reminder, really your life and your practice is shaky. There's no this sense of almost this sense of urgency, that this idea of, in a sense, that death brings you, and at the same time this idea of tenderness, of knowing that, I know some of you have lost very much people that you love, spouses, completely unexpected. Somebody was telling me the other day of a friend who had lost the husband, and my client was telling me, but it's so unfair. They has just bought a new house, like there's any guarantee that breakfast is gonna come sooner than death. So really, the definition of a practitioner, it's really this, like keeping this idea of on the background. The Dalai Lama has a beautiful quote where he says, like, the bedrock, like the foundation of the spiritual path, is the constant sense of this moment is unique. This moment could be the last moment. Okay? Because that makes your heart tender in a way. Like, if you knew that this is the last time you're going to see this person, or that this is your last time here, you would behave completely different. All these temper tantrums, all this waste of time, all this, like, it would be like immediately erased, and at the same time you would have like you would, I don't know, that's why I imagine, like, this desire to, or and this is what is said in our tradition, this really desire to apply something to the moment that could be of the utmost value for your encounter, or the encounter of this person with the unknown. So this is really what defines a practitioner, and really all that is summarized in this sense of this joy of being. And this is the funny thing, like in the West, many places, but obviously we're in the West, and I think here death is almost like put on the side, like, oh, it's bad taste to talk about this, or it's kind of rude, or why would you bring it up? Whenever happens. But that's like going to school and never studying, because I don't know, whenever they bring the test, they'll put it. I don't want to think about it, too much pressure. But the test is going to come. So one of the things that I have experienced in personally, and that I have observed other practitioners, and And my teachers is like, when this sense of death is very present, not in a bad way, like as the reality, uh, there's a natural sense of relishing for every single moment. I mean, of course, there's challenges continue, and there's moments that you relish more than others, but this is very, very essential to keep this in mind. And then then this brings a whole new perspective into the reality of when we lose people in our life, at what we consider untimely moments. Okay, because usually the highest teaching that a parent can give to a child, it's really, I mean, there's many teachings that our parents give us, from learning how to chew properly, to tie our shoes, to be kind to others, to there's many ways. But the moment of transcendence of a parent, it's extremely powerful, because now this is, I have encountered death, and it's even more pronounced, I think, when you lose maybe a spouse, or you lose a very good friend. I mentioned sometimes in these classes, I lost my very, very best friend when I was 14 and he was 15. My head was spinning for years. I could not comprehend. There was no training I mean, we went to church and we did the services, but it was completely, I mean, that didn't bring any kind of relief. I mean, there was no, the despair was such. So I know this might not be the topic you wanted to start a Sunday with, but this is so important, because this is really what brings things into this reality that one really then starts studying, consciousness from. So what is it? Okay, because this physical body is borrowed from the 5 elements, and it's gradually aging, and at some point the 5 elements are going to disintegrate. We have like a karmic age, and then we have accidents that happen in between, so we have no guarantees, no idea when this is going to go. What we have the guarantee is like, based on the teachings of beautiful spiritual teachings, that this body is this guest house for our spirit, and that our spirit is timeless, it's boundless. So through this abiding in the present moment, through this relaxing the senses, through this just experiencing life as life comes, we connect with this natural joy of being that is the experience of our, you could call it our spirit, which is that's one spirit, and all this goes to say, yesterday, my week, I go back, whatever, 34 minutes, my week, like your week, is always very busy, and we have all these things going on, and so yesterday I was here and I had, a bunch of things to do, take the kids to, the soccer, and, whatever, clean up the house and fix whatever, so I'm doing these things, and, I attended some teachings in the morning, and then a bit later in the afternoon, Garchen Rinpoche gave a medicine about empowerment and medicine with empowerment. So it's like one thing after the next, boom, 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 okay? So around 7 or something, I'm just going to, okay, now I have to go get the kids, because I'm not sure where they are. I know they are somewhere in the neighborhood playing with somebody. I say, where are my kids? Just in case, I don't know. Okay. So I step out the door, and, we live here by St. Andrew's Church. And so I'm just going to jump into my bicycle, and then there's this kind of sound of a bird chirping. And completely stops me in the moment. And I say, what about if I just take a moment just to don't do anything? Okay. So I sit there in, we have a step that goes into our stairs, a concrete step, whatever. And I just sit there, and I start observing this gentle breeze going through the trees, the maple trees on the side, and the branches gently moving, and, some birds chirping, and then, a bird flying, and a neighbor on the side doing something, and then a car coming. But this was the first time, I would say probably in weeks, that I actually didn't do anything. I just completely sat there, resting on the experience of being, not me being, just life being, And you would say in weeks, maybe a bit exaggerated. No, I can tell you it was weeks, even with all the hours of practice that I put throughout the week. In a fraction of a second, this profound experience of, that we give this analogy of the ocean and the waves, So the waves are moving, and in the surface of the ocean, creating this myriad of bends. There was all these beautiful lights, I share this because you can totally relate, so the sun is setting on the west and the trees are on the west. So, there's beautiful, shades of light moving, and gradually one's awareness just kind of melts in the experience of the ocean, not just the waves. And that is how quickly one actually can connect to this experience of being, without doing. Because, as Missy reminded me the other day, we have discussed sometimes, we are human beings, we are not human doings. And this finding a balance between doing and being, it's really finding the balance between being or not being a practitioner, between having a grasp to one's mind and having a grasp to one's emotions, or just being moved from here to there by just like by day-to-day activities, even if those activities are necessary, even if those activities are completely wonderful and bring results and bring benefit to others. So as we are going to start our practice now, I just wanted to share this with you, that life is so tremendously beautiful, constantly, all the time. And so when we have the guts to stop, because it's so funny. Yesterday, like, this voice inside of me is telling me, no, run to see where the kids are. I mean, I don't know, the kids are somewhere. I mean, they're with some friends playing up and down. And the weight of holding us back, it's always there, but at the same time, the inertia of day-to-day is such that we rarely listen to it. So the encouragement of today, and especially the encouragement as we are reaching the little by little the completion of this idea, is that it's in now. So the title of this book, the title of these classes, Healing Now, as the idea of how to live an extraordinary life. So the more we can connect, with this preciousness of just being, the more the healing manifests, the more this healing reveals.